Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenmara.com, and today I'm going to do the elemental reading for the month of November for the water signs. That's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And if you're not a Cancer, Scorpio, or a Pisces, you can also look at your birth charts if you've had them done, and they will tell you an elemental balance in there, and if your elemental balance is high in water, then this reading would go for you as well. I read intuitively, and how I read is with this pattern I'm using right now, is to read for a guide or guardian, a message from source, and a lesson or a challenge that we can use that week from the tarot. And I go week by week, and the month of November has 5 weeks approximately, so that's where we're headed now. If you have any questions or comments about the video, go ahead and drop those in the comments section as we go along, and I'll respond to those as soon as I see them. So your first guide for the month of November for the water signs is Guardian Angel. So this class of angels is the class that comes in with you at birth. You are born with a guardian angel and a recording angel. The recording angel is the one that basically keeps everything in the Akashic records for you. The guardian angel is the one that guides you from getting into any mischief or getting injured from the mischief that we like to get into. So working with your guardian angel this first week of November is a really good thing to work with, and to basically find out what it is that you might be doing that's not the best for you, or maybe talking to the angel and just trying to find out what can you do better or differently to improve the way things are going. So let's look at the message from Source. It is Manifestia. And I'll bring this down because I can't quite see. My lighting's not good today. It says, you can decide how you want to live. The universe fully supports your choice to step into the optimal version of yourself. Dream big, then dream bigger. Now is a great time to start the projects you've been considering. All it takes is a little pollination. Be creative with your visioning. Sow the seeds of reality you want to experience through the affirmative thinking and higher intentions. Then anchor or ground your dream seeds. Manifest from the harvest, overcome fear, take strong positive action, and let go of the outcome. Know and trust your dreams are already on their way, and expect to see the results. So this is really saying you're working with your guardian angel to figure out what's working and what's not working, kind of clearing out some of that excess doesn't really apply any longer. And what this card is saying is, now that you're starting to work through and you're starting to clear those things out, it's really about figuring out what it is that you want out of life. What is it that you're trying to create? What is it that you're trying to build? Do you want that stronger relationship? Do you want that new promotion? Do you want to start that business? Do you want to start that new art project? These are the questions to journal and work with, because the message from Source is saying, what do you want? What is it that you're driving you're deep within your heart? What is it that you're looking forward to that you're not getting just yet? And this card is saying, let's work on that. So figuring out with your guardian angel what's working and what's not working, and the message from Source is saying, let's do this. When you figure out what you're letting go of and where you want to go, let's get going. Let's move that direction, and let's really start building those manifestations that you obviously have in your heart, and that's why they're coming up. So your lesson or challenge from the tarot is the Princess of Summer. Oh, and all cards are linked in the description below if you're interested. The Princess of Summer is gentle, sensitive, kind, but inexperienced. A new relationship or emotional experience, invitations to social events, a compassionate friend you can share your concerns with. So this card is really saying your challenge through this first week is to make sure that you are not being naive in the things that you're working on. Your guardian angel is there to keep you from basically stumbling down the wrong path, but you have the choice from Source. What is it that you're trying to create? This card is warning you against, or giving you the lesson of, don't be naive and don't be in a rush to be like, well, this must be what I want because it's on the top of my head. The message from Source is, what is on your heart? What is it that lights you up? That deep and abiding in inner fire, what is it that triggers you? to do better, not bad trigger. But the Princess of Summer is saying you can be a little bit flippant, you can be a little bit goofy, you can be a little bit surface level, and that's not what Source and your guardian angel are working with, and they're trying to help you understand. The surface level is not you. It's that deeper aspect. And so what this card is saying, yeah, people see this part, but it's time to go deeper and really tap into that deeper, more intense version of who you are, and just to figure out where you stand and who you are. We all have our struggles in life, and one struggle is being seen as who we are at our core, and this card is saying, don't stay on the surface level. Allow yourself to delve a little bit deeper and find out more about what's going on inside. So your guide or guardian for the second week is Power and Intention angels. So these angels are really about helping you basically step into the authority that you have. But it's also about setting clear intentions. The first week was about clearing stuff out and building those. What do you want? What is it you're looking for? And once you start to get more of a focused goal, then you can start setting your intentions. These are the things that you work on for long term in most cases, but this is also saying the angels coming forward are here to support those intentions and help you refine them. Refining is taking a big complex thing of I want to own my own business, but it has to be this type of business, and I want to go down these particular steps, down to I want a successful business by the end of the year. Something along those lines. And then the power aspect of it is what can you do to build on your end? Because if you're not willing to put in some work, God Source Energy is not going to put out the effort. So if you're putting in your intentions, you're looking at the plans, you're looking at other people who have something similar, even if you want to do it differently, that's fine. But looking at the patterns, and then you're getting that power that comes in with it, the power that helps ground and anchor those intentions into a more realistic pattern and path for you. So let's look at your message from Source. And the Beyond Lemuria deck that I'm using actually has activations imprinted into the cards. So as you're looking at them, that's the reason I try to hold them up a little bit longer. You can get a little bit more information from that. So your message from Source is Mount Shasta, or Shasta, depending on how you say it. I say it Shasta. It is aware Lemuria would be destroyed, its people traveled to other parts of the globe. Mount Shasta was one of the places that they journeyed. There are tales of unusual phenomena and multidimensional beings living inside this mountain. This card is about origins, and the image is the seed crystal this deck is based around. Honor and look more deeply at your ancestry, both your bloodline and your etheric or spiritual lineage. Do you have an affinity with a certain star cluster or star being? Connecting with them allows you greater insight into your traits, strengths, and challenges. The sacred places you feel attracted to also have messages for you. So you don't have to be attracted to or go to Mount Shasta. If that doesn't resonate, don't go there. There's no point in it. Find the places and basically the groups, and it could be a spiritual group. It could be something like one of the classes of the Fae, the fairy class. It could be someone in the dragon realm. It could be an angelic course. It could be a star being. It could be, a Stonehenge. It could be Mount Shasta. It could be, there's a whole list of places. The thing with this is what it's saying is the first week you're really trying to figure out what doesn't work, what does work, and get deeper as to who you are. This week you're setting the intentions and you're tweaking that so that it gets into a more refined state. The reason that you're doing all of this is to really figure out where you stand, not just in your physical world, but where do you stand in your spiritual world. And that could be that could be something as simple as, I don't like the church that I'm going to, and I don't feel like I fit here. Then if you don't feel like you fit there, try a different one. There's no law that says you can't try a different church. There's no law that says you can't try a different group. And just maybe see what's out there. And with what this card is really bringing forward is when you find the place that you understand, whether it is through a different denomination within the Christian church, whether it's a different type of spiritual practice or spiritual group, there comes a point in time when you have to find out what it means to be spiritual in your way. That doesn't mean to go all willy-nilly, but that also does mean that just because it's a cookie cutter for one person doesn't mean that it's going to fit for you. The way I was raised in the group that I was raised in, the church I was raised in, it resonates, but it doesn't, even now. So there's times that I'll go and there's times that I won't. It just depends on, a lot of that has to do with who's preaching in the local church. But the thing is I won't walk away from anything until I understand what the purpose of it is. And this card is saying, if it doesn't fit right now, try something different for a minute and see what works better. So the challenge or lesson from the tarot for the second week is the 10 of Autumn. Take steps to ensure the financial security of your children or other loved ones. Make wise investments, planning for retirement, and honoring family traditions. So this card is really, basically, it's the 10 of Autumn, so it's the end of a cycle. It's the end of a cycle within the family unit, within a little bit of a financial mixing in there as well. So the first part of the week, or not first part, your guide is setting you up for your intentions and supporting those and refining. The message from Source is find what works and where you fit. And that may mean that you break the family traditions. The lesson and the challenge from the tarot is saying, just because it's what always has been done and it's just what your entire family or your group does, it doesn't mean that that's what's right for you. So your challenge is, are you going to be able to step up and say, and you don't have to say this out loud, but are you willing to step up and just maybe make the decision to wander away from that and find what's better? And it could be, like I said, just changing a denomination of a church, or it could be just going to a different church. But going against the family tradition can be a huge challenge. And so the second week is really about facing those challenges and facing the fears that go along with it. And that's where you have those power and intention angels coming in to support you, because they're going to help you understand that sometimes the best thing to do is to walk away. So let's look at the third week of November. That is the Take Charge and Action. So this group of angels is, as the last week was about helping you set your intentions, get your power focused, get your alignment with Source into a better state. This week is like, okay, you've done the work, you've cleared stuff out, you've got your guardian angel on board, you're working with your intentions, you're getting things set up. And this third week is, now it's time to start moving. You've prepped yourself for the first 2 weeks. You've kind of got things cleared out. You're starting to dig a little deeper into who you are and where you stand. And this third week is, now it's time to do the bit more of an exploration into what it means to be who you are. So in the second week, your challenge was maybe go to a different church or maybe go to a different group that might be a break from the family tradition. And that's fine. This week is really about, you've had the challenge last week of having the guts and stepping up to say it. This week, it's time to actually put that into action. So the third week is about stepping into that power. And the angels that come forward with this take charge, they're not going to be bossy or pushy, but they're definitely going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, hello, we are going to be doing some things. So when you get those intentions set, be aware that this third week is all about starting to move into those intentions. So this card, the message from Source, is actually the water element card for this deck. And it says, water the overflower. The being in the picture has many hands, and yet water falls through her fingers. It blesses her in the moments it touches her radiant skin, but continues on its journey. Her heart is overflowing with love. Her eyes are filled with tears. She gracefully allows what comes through to move her without control. Aligned with purpose, she is overjoyed to give from this limitless place and radiates so much light into the world. Give from the place of overflow, not obligation. Even when we think we have nothing to give, coming from the mindset of overflow creates more overflow. So what this card is really saying is, you've done the work the first 2 weeks. You've cleaned things up, you're starting to get more aligned, and now that you're in a position, a better intuitive position, a more intentional way of life, this card is saying, now when you live that life, you have the take charge angels coming in to say, let's do this. Doing it from the position of, I have more than I could possibly ever have, and not give to the point of pain. That's never going to work. but giving what you have available. And the angels and God Source energy are going to magnify that. So even if it's being able to go and read at the library for half an hour to the kindergarten class on your lunch break, if that's what you're feeling drawn to do, then do that. If it's something like going to help at the soup kitchen, go do that. But it's that being open to the ability to give, because in giving you also receive a blessing. And so this card is really about bringing in that concept of, I have enough, I've got more than I need in whatever area that is, and you're going to let it overflow and spread out to others. And as it spreads out, you start to get into the flow, the vortex, if you want to call it, of the Abraham Hicks practices. And that builds on allowing it to come in, and as it comes in, it helps and benefits you, but then you pass that on to another. And that keeps that constant flow, so as it's coming in, you get the blessing, you pass the blessing on, leaving room for the next blessing to come in. So let's look at the challenge or lesson for this third week of November for the water signs and the water element. And that is the 4 of Spring, being grateful. You have much to celebrate, deep feelings of peace and happiness, and a contented personal life. So this card is actually supporting the others, and it's not so much a challenge, but there is a lesson here. You're taking charge and you're taking action this week, and you're working from the standpoint of overflow, of abundance, of I have enough, therefore I can share. And the 4 of Spring is saying, but remember, gratitude is how this works. So when you look at what you have, you start to tap into that grateful thing. I'm so grateful and happy I have this job. I'm so grateful and happy that I have this house. I'm so grateful and happy that I have the ability to read out loud to other people. I'm so happy and grateful that I have the spouse that I have. I'm so happy and grateful that I have fill in the blank. And that gratitude amplifies those feelings and that overflow and that abundant state. But not just saying the words, feeling it, getting inside. That's what the first 2 weeks were about, is clearing out the ego, the unhealthy ego, I should say, and bringing forth that deeper connection to Source. This week is about manifesting that action or that connection to Source into a physical part of your life. And it's that deep feelings of peace that comes from being grateful for what you have, even if it's not keeping up with the Joneses. Who cares? The Joneses look like they're miserable. But take that with, where are you at, and are you content here? Can you be content here? If you can, then that means the blessings are flowing and the blessings can start to amplify. But if you're not, you can't tap into that gratitude in the now, it's not going to come from some outside source. You have to do it for yourself. So let's look at the 4th week of November for 2022. And your guide and guardian class for this group is the healing energy. So the 3rd week was about taking charge and taking action, really stepping into who you are. As you're going through this process, you may have old wounds come up. We all have them, we all bury them, we repress them. Water signs tend to carry, well, the water element tends to carry a lot of emotional baggage with it, just because the nature of what we are. We're very emotional beings. And so you have this healing energy coming in with the angels of healing and health this 4th week, saying, don't forget to take care of yourself. You're doing all these things, you're being grateful, you're sharing your time and your talents, and that's great, but don't overdo that. Because you can actually get to a point where you give so much that you forget that you're supposed to be taking care of yourself. This happens with pastors, it happens with counselors. They give and they give and they give and they give and they give, and all of a sudden they have a mental breakdown. The reason they have that is because they have not taken the time to take care of their own needs, and your body has certain things that it has to have. Rest is one of them. And so the healing angels come in this 4th week to say, it's time for you to take a break, take a step back, just chill, watch a movie, something brainless that just lets your body relax. Extend your meditation practice is a huge way to bring in a little bit extra relaxation as well. But listen to the angels when they come in. Listen to the intuitive little voice in the back of your head, what it's saying for this 4th week to help you really tap into that healing energy. Maybe even go to a healer and, work through a healing session, getting chakras aligned, or an aura reading, things like that, just to help you tap more into that healing presence. So your message from Source is the Balanced Forces card. And it says, the Lemurian people are said to have been androgynous, a perfect balance of what is masculine and feminine as in an identified form. This card invites you to look at the masculine and feminine energy from a more balanced perspective. What needs to happen to form a more holistic and equalized foundation? For more masculine drive and focus concerned on goals, desires, and ambitions, and if you want to engage with the more feminine energy, it's receptive, trusting, flow, and surrender. Consider all these things that you are already grateful for. Feel the warmth, the gratitude, and comfort of knowing everything is divinely perfect the way it is. So you have the healing angels coming in saying, let's work on this inner healing. You're stirring some things up because you're, clearing out things that from the past that are not helpful anymore. You're challenging some of the societal and especially family norms are going to cause a lot of things to be brought up. And as you're going through that, the angels in this 4th week are coming in saying, let's heal and let's work with that. And the reason that you're healing and trying to work with it is you're finding that new balance. You're finding that time when you need to be a little bit more assertive, a little bit more masculine and dominant in how you act. But you're also learning that there's times to be receptive and flowing, which is a more feminine trait. So you really want to find that balance. And the healing angels and the healing energy that you can work with this week are really about restabilizing. The first part of the month was a little bit rough and chaotic and can be a little stressful. But this week is now reground. You've done some work. You're figuring out more about who you are. Take a breath. We'll get there. So let's look at your lesson or challenge. That card just jumped out. So this should be interesting. It is the 6 of Winter. Positive changes are on the way. A welcome relief from troubled times. Traveling and relocating. So what this is really talking about is you've done a lot of work this month. You really have cleared out some things as long as you're doing the work. And this week is about grounding, healing, finding a new balance. And with that, it triggers a positive shift in you. And it could be something super subtle where someone's just like, there's something different about you. And they can't quite put their finger on what it is. It's something good. They can't figure out what it is, but they notice a positive shift. But it's also something that's a relief. Like you finally have busted through that next wall and it's like a weight falls off your shoulders. You can stand a little bit taller and you roll your shoulders back and you just feel better. But you have to go through the healing process. You have to find that new balance. So this 4th week is about setting that up so that you can actually tap into that positivity and really work with that type of energy. So your lesson and your challenge for this 4th week is, how can I take what I've learned to improve where I'm at? Or how has what I've learned so far this month improved my outlook on life? So those are some things to think about during this 4th week. So let's look at the energy of the 5th week and a guide or guardian. And I use the term guide or guardian because it depends on the energy of the angels what comes up. So we have vulnerability and freedom is the angel class coming in for this 5th week of November. So vulnerability you would think would be a weakness, but it's really not. When you really become vulnerable with somebody, that's when that deep intimacy can come in. And that's not always about a sexual relationship. It's about the intimacy as a bond between two people. One of my dear friends, we have a very intimate bond in a lot of ways, but there's nothing sexual about it. It is strictly because we know we can rely on the other person. We can talk and vent out the stuff that's bothering us, but there's a free flow of communication there. And that intimacy and that vulnerability is, there's things that this person knows about me, there's things I know about this person that we've been vulnerable with each other about. Could also mean, if something ever happened and one or the other of us decided to go really wicked or mean in what we're in an argument, we could do that because we've been vulnerable with each other. So it can be a good or a bad thing, so you don't want to just be vulnerable with anybody. You want to make sure you can trust that person. But when you come to that point where you're vulnerable, that intimacy and that growth and that connection is there, the sense of freedom, the sense that you can say what you need to say, that sense of being able to express yourself however you come off, becomes such a blessing. And the amount of freedom that you feel when you're in that type of a situation is surprisingly massive. So the angels coming in this week are really about helping you tap into and connect in that way with one person preferably, but sometimes it'll be more than one, depends on the situation you're in. But you're going to find that intimacy and really examine it. And if you're already in a relationship where that's going on, this angel is going to help you understand the goods, the bads, the ins and the outs. And that is going to lead to that freedom. And if you are vulnerable with somebody but you don't feel like there's any relief from it, there's no freedom with it, then this angel can also help you reevaluate, is that the right person to be that open with? So let's look at the message from Source. Oh, there's a Merkaba in that. It is gracious receptivity. There's a little Merkaba she's holding in her hand. It's a 12-pointed star. If there were a manual for optimal human experiences, one of the most potent points would be gratitude. It's the backbone of all spiritual practice. When we shift our perspective from what we are lacking, needing, and desiring, we temporarily replace the survival factor with the resonance for thriving. Giving and receptivity is a two-way flow. Each allows space for the other. Gratitude, self-love, self-worth are all interwoven with the capacity to receive. Together, they nourish your soul. Step into your heart space by listing all the things that you're grateful for and notice how full you start to feel. From here, your gifting capacity can spiral upward. So this card really resonates with third week's card of water overflowing, because you're tapping into your gratitude. When you if you get into a situation where you can be vulnerable and have that freedom with somebody, understand the amount of freedom there is something to be extremely grateful for. Not everybody is going to be able to make those connections where they can have that type of freedom, that type of connection, and that ability to be that open. And if you are, that is something to be hugely grateful for. But kind of an overflowing theme so far through this month's reading has been understanding yourself and tapping into your gratitude. And this card is really saying the best way for things to manifest, the best way for things to improve, the best way for your abundance to continue to grow is to be grateful for where you're at, be grateful for where you came from, and, as weird as this may sound, be grateful for everything coming, even if you don't know what that is. Because that gratitude is going to open up the doors to a lot of different experiences, a lot of different experiences and things coming in. And a lot of the times it's going to be something that's completely different, but exactly what you need. So when you set your intentions, understand that sometimes divine God source energy is going to step in and be like, okay, I see where you're going with this, but if we shift it just a little bit over here, your intention stays the same, but this is a better outcome because we have our own image up here. No matter how many times you practice this, you set your intention, you have the specific image in place, you get something completely different from what you imagined, but oddly enough, it's the same intention because this other outcome was the one that was actually going to benefit you in the long run. And you're so excited about what you've got, you don't even realize that the image in your mind wasn't aligned with your intention at that point. So let's look at your challenge for this 5th week of November. It is a major arcana card, so this is a life lesson. This is something that's going to really needs to sink in and stabilize within you. It is number 14, the balance. Take everyone's input into consideration, merge viewpoints to create a better solution. Take your time, there's no need to rush. So this card is basically saying you've done a lot of work this month. You've worked through a lot of energy, you've worked with a lot of different spirit guides, you have really tapped into the messages of finding who you are, tapping into your connection in the spiritual sense and in the physical. You've looked at different perspectives of life. You may have changed some viewpoints for yourself, might have shaken a few things up, and that's where you take others' opinions. Just because they have an opinion doesn't mean it's right and doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's for you. That could be their opinion for them. But taking those opinions and looking at them and figuring out, does this apply to my life? If it doesn't, then that's for them, and that's fine. If it does, then you can delve into that and flesh it out a little bit, being like, what exactly were you meaning with this? So this card is really saying your challenge or your lesson for this 5th week is you've done a lot of work, you've cleared out a lot of things, you've had maybe some new experiences. Now it's time to rebalance and bring that all into focus. So that is the end for this reading. If that resonates for you guys, I really would appreciate it if you would hit the like button for me. If you like this kind of content, you can go ahead and subscribe. And as I said earlier in the video, you can comment or critique. That's fine, just as long as we can be respectful about that. I think it's something we can all get on board with. Other than that, I will talk to you guys in the next video, and I hope you have an awesome month of November.